Hello, and welcome. Coming to you from a cantina somewhere on Tatooine, I'm Josh.
And I'm John, and this Jawa juice is a little too bitter for my liking.
Yeah, that's kind of why I stay away from it.
Bantha hide in a drink? Ugh.
Better than poodoo. But this is the Geek ETC podcast, where we dive into all things you can geek out about. You know, later this year, me and my wife are taking a trip to Japan.
What?
Yeah, so I'm super excited for that, especially from a geek culture standpoint. That's kind of the mecca capital of the world of geek culture.
Well, Mecha Godzilla, yeah, for sure.
Oh,
he's also from there. Yeah, he's also from there.
You have to watch out for them, though. He might step on you.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's also called MAGA, or what is it? Manga. Manga is what it's called, right? Not Mecha.
I'm pretty sure it's not MAGA.
Pretty sure there's not a lot.
That's a different subset of the community.
This is,
Manga.
Yeah, manga. Yeah. My bad.
Yeah. Anyway, that's fine though, because they also have full-size Gundams there, so they'll be able to keep off Mechagodzilla if he shows up.
I don't know. I watched Pacific Rim the other day, and they didn't do the best job ever. But
well, those are really big kaiju too. They were pretty mean.
Category 4.
Right. I haven't seen 2. I don't know if 2 was better or worse than the
There's
first
a Pacific Rim 2?
Yes.
So that just ruined the ending for me of Pacific Rim 1.
Well, I don't know if it takes place hundreds of years from then or not, but
I just watched it because my kid loves like giant monsters, and he wants.
Am I your kid?
Well. So I don't hate giant monsters by any stretch, but like it's an old movie, you know. I think I saw part of it before. It
had its silly moments for sure, but I mean, as far as a completely pointless storyline, but just visually entertaining thing, like I love all those like Godzilla movies and those big kaiju stuff. I've always found those entertaining to me, at least.
Oh yeah. Well, speaking of let them fight, so what's going to happen in Japan when you go?
But so yeah, we're going to Japan for a couple weeks. Really looking forward to that. But in the process of our research, my wife found that they have these cat cafes where you can either pay by the hour or pay just a flat rate and be able to stay there all day. But it's essentially kind of a Starbucks situation, maybe a little more welcoming, just a lounge, but it's just this big area. They have a lot of lounging furniture. I saw they have like Super Nintendos and Segas set up. You can go and play games. They have board games set up to play if you want to, or if you just need to go somewhere and do some work on your laptop like you would at a Starbucks or something. You can sit down there, plug in your laptop, put on some headphones, and just chill. But while you're doing that, there's 20 cats wandering around the place that will come up and snuggle up on you, sit on your laptop probably and mess up what you're doing. But she loves animals, and so she's super excited about going to this cat cafe. But as we were looking up stuff on it, we found a video just kind of someone doing a little tour of that on YouTube. They're touring through Japan and they went to the cat cafe, showing what it's all about, and going out doing close-ups on all the different cats and stuff. And then there's this one that just, I mean, he's pretty cute, but he's kind of derpy looking. And his eyes are kind of, a little bit apart from each other.
It's like a Steve Buscemi cat.
Not that bad, but his like nose is kind of, I think he's a Persian cat of some kind, so his nose is kind of pushed in a little bit. And then he has one snaggle tooth sticking out of the bottom, just randomly, and so he definitely looks kind of derpy. But she started doing more research and went to the website and found out that they literally have a profile page that lists profiles of all their cats, that they each have their own profile, and below them there was an Instagram and a YouTube link. Every one of these cats has their own Instagram page with like tons of pictures on it, and they each have a kind of little montage video on an unlisted video on YouTube of each of the cats as well. And so she found out this cat's name was Tartar or Tartar or something like that, and was just almost in tears, like looking at this derpy snaggletooth cat and watching these videos of him. And she's super excited to go over and see him. But this is a picture of him.
That looks like Nick Offerman. That's who that looks like. That looks like Nick Offerman from the Last of Us and Parks and Rec. That's who that is.
Right.
The only time I've watched a cat montage, I had Sarah McLachlan playing in the background.
Right. And that they're all almost dead.
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta go feed him.
Yeah, there's this stupid looking cat.
Oh my Tartar. Goodness.
But she's in love with him. He's amazing. So we're excited to go over and go to this cat cafe and see Tartar.
I think they have raccoon cafe too.
I wouldn't be surprised. They definitely have dog ones that have like Shiba Inus and some of that stuff. But
one of the guys I play Dungeons and Dragons with online, he went to Japan and they had a muscle girl cafe. Wow. I looked it up. Yeah, you can just like go in there and like you can pay them and they'll like lift you up, like they'll like squat you. They'll you know, there's some of them, they're not like they're like just athletic, like CrossFit looking women or whatever. You know, they're not like Gabby Garcia or somebody like that. They're fairly normal, but they're just more muscular and they wear their like little outfits and stuff. But yeah, apparently they'll like pick you up and do squats with you or whatever. Very interesting.
There's a themed restaurant for anything that you desire in there.
Yeah,
for sure.
There you go.
But we'll post some pictures of Tartar on our Instagram for y'all to check out if you're curious about this cat, so you can see his derpy little face.
Can you guys can go live and do like an interview session with him
with Tartar?
Yeah, I mean we've not had a whole lot of guests on here yet, you know, so I feel like
that would be interesting to have. I'm probably sure I could convince my wife to do a interview segment with Tartar from Japan. Ask about his favorite things that he does in the cat cafe.
Ooh, yeah.
You can buy them little popsicles to feed the cats, and they'll just sit there and lick them.
Okay, yeah.
And you can buy them snacks, and they have mealtime twice a day so that you can watch them line all the cats up and eat out of their little rice bowls.
Well, at the Raccoon Cafe, I think you just bring in garbage. You just lay it everywhere. Like,
here's some trash.
Just throw it on the floor.
Yeah, they'll pick it up. Don't worry about it. We don't have to clean this place.
I mean, Japan looks like a fairly clean place. What do the raccoons do there? What can they do?
I don't even know if there are raccoons, honestly. Maybe they're red pandas or something. I'm not sure.
I think they're raccoons.
But they could be. But every video we've watched of these guys that just do walking tours of Japan and stuff, the amount of times that you even see any kind of trash on the streets or anything is almost zero. Like it seems super clean, and there's never anything. And I think there may even been a thing that I read that they don't even put trash cans outside in the public because that would encourage people to put trash outside somewhere. So they just don't even have them. So because of that, there's no trash anywhere.
Now, I was just talking about this before the this podcast started with you, and there was a show on Netflix called Old Enough, where these little kids, like 3 and 4 year olds, go on these like errands together. And I remember seeing like this, like it was like a 3-year-old girl, and she had to go get like candy or, you know, some type of like very Japanese sweet food from like a store. And on the way back, she saw a little bottle that was on the side of the road, and she picked it up and took it home.
Well, how nice.
I know.
That's very good.
So she could throw it away.
Good little child. They're definitely more disciplined than us here in America are, for sure.
Yeah.
But that could due to they have thousands of years of culture and history as opposed to our couple hundred here in the Americas.
Yeah, I'd say so. But, you know, it'll be a fun trip for sure. I'm excited to see your stuff from it, and also for whatever gift you bring me back. Yeah, because
there's a specific district, Akihabara, that is kind of definitely the anime geek video game centric part of the city, where they have, you know, tons of arcades, and they've got, you know, Nintendo stores. There's tons of Sega stores. I'm not sure what all they have in them. I'll find out when I get there.
Probably games and Sega stuff.
They might. I don't know. But I'm excited to get over there, and I guarantee you, we're even trying to figure out what would be the cheapest way to bring stuff back, because I know we're going to have tons of souvenirs, and we were even debating on whether it'd be cheaper to ship them back through a service or just put them in checked luggage, which is what we're probably going to do, and just take, you know, some empty luggage with us. Fill it up. And
we're going down like a whole rabbit hole here that I'm happy to go down for what the topic of the episode actually is. But I will say this: I was online and I saw this thing. It was like buy a Japan truck or buy a Japan vehicle or something like that. And you can buy those cute little trucks that are like just two doors and everything.
2 doors
like
and has a little bed on it.
You can buy those like on this website, and they're like to like buy one and have it shipped here. Like we're on the East Coast, to have it shipped to like Baltimore was like $5,000.
Wow.
So I almost want to like.
So I need to get one of those.
I almost was like, you could get one of those, put all your stuff in it, ship it back,
and
then
just ship just load up the cab of it and just ship the whole.
Yeah. Well, I saw another one. It was like some like little Honda, like, quote unquote SUV, but it was super tiny, or whatever. And the one they had for sale, there were several of them, but one of them had like Supreme on the side of it.
Yeah.
And then it had one of those cats on the top of the roof. It's all coming full circle. There was a cat on the top of the roof with like the little emblem, like, had a little gold, charm or whatever on it. And it was just funny. That was like the whole roof was colored blue and there's this giant cat on it.
That's awesome.
So that would be funny to bring back. Drive on the right hand side, do that.
Right.
Like, and it didn't say like how many horsepower it was. It was like 660 cc's.
Right.
Just like I'm playing Mario Kart.
You're in the fastest tournament.
Exactly.
Just don't fly off a
Which I think
road.
I looked up and it was like 100 or less than 100 horsepower.
Wow. I mean, I guess you wouldn't need much for such a small vehicle, but.
Well, if it's carrying me, maybe. But I'm just saying, it would be interesting to see. It'd be fun. It'd be a fun little car to drive.
And as long as you're not in the mountains and you're on kind of flat terrain, you don't have to go up any inclines, and you wouldn't need a lot of power to pull it up there, I'm sure. So yeah, can't wait to get over there. It'll probably be this October coming up. And I'm sure I'll come back with a lot of stories and see what all geek inspired things I can find over there to talk about. I'm sure I'll have a lot of cool stories from that.
I'm excited to hear to see it go. I'm glad you're going. I think a lot of people want to go, even if you're not like a quote unquote weeb or something like that, it's a fun thing, which if you are, hey, good on you. But if it's one of those things, I think a lot of people want to go over there, and it does seem like a beautiful place regardless, especially watching that Old Enough show, which isn't like very Tokyo centric. It's very rural families. It's fun to see like just their way. It's very calm. It's very like really chill for the most part.
Yeah.
Everything seems nice. You got these 4-year-olds running errands that, you would get the cops or the social services called on you if you did that. If you let a 5-year-old on a bus and told him to go to Walmart, I mean, that's child abuse in America. But there it's like completely normal and everybody's sweet to the kids. And,
it's a very quiet culture. I know I've seen, if you're on subways and stuff, it's kind of frowned and shunned upon and disrespectful if you have conversations on the subway or on the trains.
So there's no impromptu like concert sessions. There's no like
people
fledgling like
doing break dancing around the poles on the trains and stuff.
Yeah, there's no indie artist that's trying to like boost their get like a video, like a YouTube video of them performing their song a cappella.
Not that I've seen. There is buskers over there in the streets, but a lot of them actually sound pretty good. And I've even saw that it's not even kind of suggested that you even tip them. I mean, tipping culture, it doesn't exist over there.
That's true.
And they'll chase you down from a restaurant if you tip them anything and give it back to you. But they said like with buskers, you kind of can. And obviously, if we have any Japanese listeners or people who are more informed than me, please feel free to comment or send us a message, correcting me or letting me know how it actually works. I would love to get as much information as possible on kind of what's appropriate and not appropriate to do over there.
Yeah, tell Josh what he needs to do. Right.
A lot of that information is kind of hard to find for me currently, but we're still doing a lot of research. But Tokyo definitely seems like a really cool place. I'm hoping that I don't get over there and decide I don't want to come back.
Well, I've heard a lot of people that go there and they move there. It's like, they're like, man, you probably don't want to live here, if you're just like an American person or something like that. Right. But like a couple of weeks, I hear is like the gold standard to go over there and actually enjoy it, have fun, because
that's long enough that you get acclimated to the time change, which is pretty big. And then, the food, and just you kind of learn how to move around the city through using the cards to get on the public transit, and you just kind of know how to navigate the city. And it could take a week or two to even get all that down. And then once you get that down, now you can really kind of enjoy the time there. You know what else I enjoy?
What's that?
When people help support this show.
This show?
Yes.
Geek ETC podcast?
Exactly. And if you would like to be one of those people, you can go to patreon.com/geeketc podcast.
Join the crew.
Indeed. You can go there for just a couple bucks a month. You can help keep us loud, live, and independent, and keep this awesome geek-inspired content coming your way.
Otherwise, we're going to find a silly sponsor and, jokes on us, then you just wouldn't listen.
Right. Either, Clash of this or Raid that or something.
It definitely won't be Royal Match, because if anybody follows me on Instagram, every time Royal Match posts an ad, I go to war. Every single
it's always
time.
These like old like grandparents and stuff that they seem to be taking advantage of
on cameos. Well, it's D-list actors, and I swear it's like they have a gun to them. Like it's like somebody's holding their kid in like the other in the corner, like,
right,
tell them how smooth. There's no ads. Make sure you mention there's no ads. Oh my God, I'm doing an ad for them right now.
Oh my God, you are.
I'm doing an ad.
They've already got you.
We are not sponsored by Royal Match. Please don't play it. Don't do it.
He who shall not be named.
He who shall not be named. We here at Geek ETC are diametrically opposed to Royal Match. And if you are out there and you're being held captive by Royal Match, then I just want you to know that if you blink SOS, I'll send a rescue team. Okay, we have a team of ODST on standby, and we will orbital drop them.
Titanfall inbound.
But so, hey, join the crew. Welcome to come to our Patreon. Join the crew.
You can help our liberation project.
The liberation of these poor cameo actors. Oh my goodness.
Alrighty. Anyway.
So, this week, Josh, we're geeking out about, speaking of like orbital things, let's go a little bit into space. This week, we're geeking out about something that happened a long time ago.
It did. Apparently in a galaxy very, very far away.
That's right. This week we're geeking out about Star Wars.
Star Wars.
So let's talk about the general state of Star Wars in general. So today,
it's a thing.
It is. It's not a liquid. It's not a gas. It is. So today, March 1st, is the drop of the new season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, Mandalorian season 3 should be out today.
There's a lot of hype about it. There's a lot of things I'm interested to see in it. There have been a lot of shows recently. The other day I saw an interview with Liam Neeson. I don't always agree with everything Liam Neeson has to say, but he has more followers than I do.
A couple.
One or two.
Yeah.
And he says, there are so many Star Wars projects that it's beginning to get like muddled, where it's not as like,
yeah, I can see that.
It's not as like it doesn't have as much substance to it anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, like thinking back in the day when Episode 1 came out back in the 90s, that was the biggest deal on the planet at the time. Like the fact that one of the old branded like drink machines still exists and people travel across the country to take their picture beside this pod racing branded like Pepsi machine still exists.
Yeah, that was a wild time, an absolute wild time. And that was, because we're in our 30s, in our early 30s, almost mid 30s. We grew up with that. That was like our first experience where we got to go to the theater.
Right.
Thus, the title screen rolled. We see the Luther Haska battleship or whatever. Right. And the Republic ship, and yeah,
that was our first theatrical experience with Star Wars. I mean, obviously, we weren't around for the old ones. I don't remember at the time. I probably had seen them. I guess that's been so long ago I can't remember, but I probably had seen them.
It was harder to see them too because
my aunt had them on VHS tape. I think she still actually has them, which that'd be a cool thing to see.
To watch the ones with like before the
edits and stuff,
before all the new edits and everything. Yeah. It is interesting because we saw that for the first time, and I am a prequels apologist. I like the prequels. I think people that don't,
I do too.
The prequels added the stuff that I wanted from the original Star Wars. Mm. The young John who wanted, who is, a wannabe world builder.
Right.
The things that I got out of the first Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Jar Jar aside, right?
Yeah.
And even that, like when you look at it, Jar Jar's really not, he is annoying, but it's like, he's just there. Like,
yeah.
There's lots of times there's annoying characters that we can just deal with.
He can't hurt you.
And the thing was, it was Papa George. It was Papa George's attempt at like a comic relief character.
Right.
Because in the background, right, we're dealing with like political intrigue and a dark, organization trying to take, in the beginning steps, that we can see of taking over the galaxy.
Right.
It dealt with some sensitive subjects, I mean, I guess Jar Jar, like getting his tongue caught on things, maybe made slavery a little more palatable. I don't know,
Interesting. Could be.
But I mean, it dealt with some sensitive stuff. There was,
Well, I mean, Anakin himself, was in a way like him and his family were sort of slaves to old, what's his name, the scrapyard.
Well, they were slaves. Yeah, they were slaves. That's what I'm saying. He was there as like comic relief, and it was like, hey, just remember,
I see what you're saying.
These two people are slaves.
I see what you're saying.
But Jar Jar, he's silly, isn't he?
Right.
Stop eating.
There's this guy.
There's that guy. And it's so silly. So I kind of agree with like Liam a little bit. I think there's been so many there are some really good Star Wars projects, and then there's been some that have been lackluster for me.
Oh, for sure.
I think, the Clone Wars was a fun one.
Right.
I really enjoyed that. I think Rebels had some really interesting things because they actually kind of went their own way. They had like a different lightsaber animation style. Like they were like based off the original drawings. So they were like these thin blades versus kind of like I like the looks of like the bigger blades better. Yeah. But these were like,
almost more sword-like than a beam of energy.
Like rapier, like very thin. And even though they're cartoons, there are some pretty adult moments in them. There's especially in the Clone Wars, there's a lot of people dying. There's a lot of like betrayal. There's, these nameless clones.
I think it fell into that kind of genre of, not that it may look like a cartoon, but it's more an adult animation type of property type of thing. It definitely had a more cartoony aspects, but there were things in it, like you said, that appealed to more of an older audience.
And I think if you've never watched anything and you like animation or something like that, it would be worth like maybe just checking out the Clone Wars, like Ahsoka, who's got her own series coming out, right?
Yeah.
She is Anakin's Padawan during the Clone Wars. We don't see her in any of the prequel movies, but like I talked about it, I think in one of our early episodes on here, there are things in the Clone Wars series where they were able to like button hook her in, and like she, just after she would go away, you would get the scene where like Anakin's walking with Obi-Wan or something like that.
Right.
And she's seeing him
filling
in those gaps that the movie doesn't have time to do. And you get this, as she develops as a character and gets older, because she's supposed to be annoying. She's supposed to be a little brat in the first one and be impetuous. And she learns, and she gets betrayed a little bit. And then she feels like, man, if I was there, maybe, Anakin wouldn't have turned. Maybe she has some like survivor guilt, I think, because
has some weight on her shoulders from
she does
the aftermath of that.
I hope we see that in the new series. So
that could be interesting to see kind of how if there is any kind of emotional development related to that.
I mean, the actress, and I forgot what her name is, who played her in The Mandalorian season 2. She did a great job.
Rosario Dawson.
She did a great job.
Yes.
And honestly, she was one of my favorite people on The Mandalorian. I'm glad that The Mandalorian's kind of going to, it's doing some actual Mandalore stuff this time. We had some, we got Katie Sackhoff. I love her to death. I think she's one of my favorite like sci-fi actresses, and she gets really into it. And right. I think as a person, like, she really enjoys playing the role. And I think that's neat too. Almost like a Henry Cavill playing The Witcher. I don't know that she's a super fan, but she definitely eats up like the sci-fi stuff. Like,
right.
She's not, and even if she was like, I'm going to go walk the red carpet all the time type of person, she's still got like that kind of like, I like sci-fi and,
Right. If I can kind of tell a difference, like you said, people like Henry that you can tell are into, they were into whatever they were a part of before they were a part of it.
Yeah. And Battlestar Galactica was huge back in the day. And Katie Sackhoff was like, well, I'm talking about even the recent one, the one that the Sci-Fi Channel did, remember? That Katie Sackhoff played Starbuck, where they changed the role to a female, and she blew that out of the water and was like a crowd favorite. And then I feel like that's kind of gone by the wayside, but she got so much love from that fandom, I think.
Yeah, I think that really kind of hit her off from there for sure.
Yeah, and I think she feels good about it. So I'm excited to see where it goes. There are definitely a lot of problems I've had with The Mandalorian. This is one of those things I've talked about, and when I talk about it with peers, sometimes they get a little bit, they're like, I don't think about it so much, but I do. Disney has more money
than anybody,
than God. They are, they have a treasure trove of money, and I just want to see things done well, and I want them to be thought through really well. Because to me, like when I watched the first season of The Mandalorian, I thought Grogu, right, or little Yoda fella, you could kind of tell that animation, the way he moved around, not even the animation, the way the puppet work would have been home in like the 70s. It looks like the Ewok. Now, if that's a hearkening back to that, okay. But I don't want to see, I want to see something more smooth, because like, I don't want it pulling, like when I see some of the like, Yoda work from like the, Empire Strikes Back or something like that.
Right. It's the older stuff.
The older stuff. I want to see Grogu moving smoothly, even if he's still waddling around or doing whatever. But I also feel like some of the first season,
so you kind of specifically mean like the animatronics, and you could kind of like, I guess, tell the animatronics in it.
Well, not even, I imagine it's probably puppet work or something, but yeah, that bothers me. Some of the costume and set design have bothered me. Tatooine's fine. Tatooine's great. You kind of get and of course the bounty hunter stuff is interesting to see, dusty cantina Western, but they could have also showed us somewhere else. Like, what is another desert planet or whatever.
Right.
There was just so much, it was so Tatooine-esque, like the first season. And there was also one episode where they teach the villagers how to defend against the raiders. I don't know if you remember that episode or not.
It's been a minute since I've seen that.
I
haven't rewatched it.
There's a village. They're peaceful.
Oh, is it where like the AT-8 or the ATST
yes,
came in? Yeah.
So
a little swamp sort of village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was an episode in the Clone Wars, which isn't something they've like hidden, where like Ahsoka is doing the same thing. Like she's teaching this village how to fight off these raiders, and they're down to the training montage motions. Right. I just want originality is my main thing. And I think this season looks like it's going to have the most originality to it.
Now, I haven't, for full disclosure, I haven't seen anything. I've kind of stayed in the dark a little bit on this new season, like any trailers or anything like that. I haven't watched any of it. So kind of go into it
with an open mind.
A little open mind, kind of just to reset my kind of perspectives on thing and go into another new season fresh.
So I'm not going to whine about it too much, but I think Liam Neeson, really hearkening back to what I was talking about like a million minutes ago, Liam Neeson, I think, is a little bit correct that there has been so much done so quickly. It just feels like a money grab, and they know that we're going to eat it up. They know we're going to consume that media.
And I feel like that's like you could kind of tell a lot of that came hand in hand with the Disney acquisition.
Yes.
Like they do with anything that they acquire.
Yes.
As soon as they get it, then they're going to create as many things as they can.
And how many people have I've heard so many people recently saying, I'm all marveled out.
I am.
I'm all marveled out, right?
I've hit that myself.
And I don't want that to happen to Star Wars because I love it so much.
I know.
I love it so much. I love the Star Wars like universe so much that I can have a little bit less of it.
Right.
It's
one of those things I would appreciate it more. Yeah, fewer things and even further, sparsed apart. More time in between them, but it makes each thing more special.
And really well thought out, longer series.
Right.
And for those of us, like have something, I think a lot of, younger people like The Mandalorian, right? It's got a cute little baby dude who just kind of, people kind of overlook some of the issues with that show. I think just because Grogu exists.
Yeah.
Right. I think that it would be interesting, like if they had some really more, like for those of us who grew up with the prequels, right? Who saw Darth Maul getting cut in half and the down, like the younglings getting killed and Order 66 and stuff. Give me something a little bit more adult oriented. Let's go back in time. Let's go back. We've already seen a lot of stuff from the after the Empire took over.
Again, the whole like anything that they come out with now needs to let go of the Skywalker story. Like they need to move past that or way before it. I know there was a lot of talk about the next series of things being from the New Republic. Or
the High Republic. Right?
The High Republic. That's what it was.
And I want to see that because the High Republic is such a neat time. And with that, I'm going to bring up, doesn't take place in the High Republic. And I know you've not watched all of it, Josh, but the Andor series.
Yeah, no, I that one got busy when that one came out, so I've missed that one. I'm wanting to catch up on.
So I'm not going to spoil anything, and I'm not going to spoil anything for anybody that's been out that's not watched it yet. But the Andor series, I feel like Rogue One for me kind of fulfilled some of like the adult oriented things that I wanted. The comic relief with KS2 or whatever, the robot was very funny. The acting was really good. It wasn't a happy ending, right? There was no Jedi, but there was still like we still had the blind guy who was we still had the guys who protected the Jedi temple. The Force still existed. It was still present. But it wasn't, we didn't have any like Deus Ex Machina Jedi coming from the sky or like, I survived Order 66 coming to save us. And, that was nice. It felt good. If, Darth Vader was like vicious. He was savage, cutting through people, he was like this angry guy. And that was
one thing I liked about, the Mandalorian season 2 as well is when Ahsoka was kind of first introduced into that through that, again, that was a series through the whole thing. Like you didn't really see any signs of the Force or Jedi type of stuff or anything like that until she kind of shows up. And then it's like, it makes it that much more serious and that much more impressive when a Jedi does show up. It's like that, and that harkens back and reminds me of the original movies that, again, a Jedi was a scarce thing, but they were like a superhero kind of, like a famous, entity that when they showed up, they, were magical and they were someone that you respected both out of, fear and whatever.
Yeah, you weren't like, obviously the Clone Wars, there were far more of them and they were more present, but they're kind of like the thing underneath the bed, in the Galactic Empire. That's the scary thing you tell your kids before you go to bed is about the Jedi, because that's the Galactic, the Galactic Empire's propaganda.
Yeah.
To be fair, I didn't love the ending of it with Luke coming in. I thought maybe we could have done somebody different. I think if we had Ahsoka coming in, like if she hadn't been introduced and that was the first time she got introduced, that would be pretty neat. There was just a lot of stuff. Like I thought I was going to say, was there really many other Jedi, I guess, left at that time that could have shown up? Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely been other Jedi, around. I mean, we've got a whole thing of them. I mean, Luke had an academy at that point. There was probably still some left. We keep adding them.
Still older. Yeah.
We keep adding them into different games.
That's one thing too that I've, that'd been something to see Kyle Kestis show up.
Yeah.
Have the actor. That would have been crazy. But
that would have been cool.
That's one thing that I was going to say that has been a struggle for me is just the entire timeline that's of Star Wars, because again, there's so many things too. And they all the different, properties and shows and movies, they all jump around this timeline so much that it is tough to keep things straight.
It is. And I'm not going to continue to understand that I love these things so much and I'm going to consume it. And I think that's one of the problems is I'm going to do it. And I just want the utmost care to be given to something I care so much about. So that's all I'm saying. If you love these things and you're happy with them as art, then I'm glad we're both watching them together. But I would have loved to see like Ezra from the Rebels show up or something like that, from the kid who's in the Rebels series. Because like there was people talking about how his ship might have been like in the last episode of the sequels films, when they send all those ships to the place where Palpatine somehow came back or whatever. And I think that would have been really neat to see. Going back to the Andor series real quick, though, I just want to say, if you've not watched the Andor series, it is, I hate to use this but it meets it because the other ones are not, is that it is slightly more cerebral than the other ones. Like we feels more like a Star Wars where there's multiple POV characters. You know, we get to see Mon Mothma, we get to see Cassian Andor. There's a couple of other ones, and they're really, really good. And I feel like they really went for broke. Like they really did a good job writing. There's, the guy that Skarsgård character in that show has, I've seen like people making whole edited versions of one of his monologues where he's talking to a guy, and I really, really, really enjoyed that series, and it gave me some hope. And they're not going to overdo it. There's going to be one more season of it, and that's it.
Of Andor?
Of Andor.
Oh, I didn't know there was going to be another one.
There's going to be a second season. So the first season covers like a year-ish.
Okay.
And then the second season is going to cover the next few years up until Rogue One.
So okay. So that's the thing. I guess that would make sense that all that was before that.
So for me, just like you said, I wish, so instead of just keep trying to shoehorn things into like that 20-year period.
Right.
Let's
branch out.
Disney start fresh, High Republic, pre-Republic stuff. Let's go back in time, and you can make things your own now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had mentioned back in, our favorite games episode that one of my favorite games was Knights of the Old Republic. And that timeline, I don't remember if it was 10,000 years before the Skywalker stuff, or it was like a long time. But yeah, some of the stories in that were also so interesting. Like, I would love to see more stuff from around that time.
I think there is, if you are a fan of Star Wars and, you're not a video game person, go on YouTube and just watch the cutscenes from this game called The Old Republic.
Oh, yeah.
They are so good. And you can just see the movie that you could have with that in a different time period without having to mess with anybody's childhood, without recanonizing anything, without bringing back people who are too old or too young to play the parts at different points in time. Bring us that, bring me something fresh, bring me something really fresh. I love seeing these places. I love seeing like Coruscant in any movie.
Yes.
I like seeing the way that it came up. When I saw, I think Coruscant's called it like an ecumenopolis, right? An ecumenopolis is like a worldwide planet. A planet.
A worldwide planet.
A worldwide planet. The smartest guy in the room. Listen to me. It's like a city.
It's more city than planet at that point.
The city has covered. The entire planet is like urbanized, right? It's called like an ecumenopolis, like these like super cities, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when I was a kid, that was the first time I had really seen it, because I hadn't really watched like the Blade Runners or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is so cool. This is so sci-fi. Like a whole planet is a city.
Yeah.
And then I loved little things. I loved seeing the Senate Guard in their blue uniforms. I loved the Senate itself. I loved watching how that worked. I loved, all the way that the places on Naboo looked. Or sorry, well, I did love the way the places on Naboo looked, but I loved like the different the apartments looked in Coruscant, in the prequels. And it's one of my it's one of those things like when I think about it's cool, like really, really neat things, I remember seeing that for the first time and loving it.
Yeah, that whole scene from the second movie where after the assassin tries to take out Padme, and they're jumping through the cars as the flying cars are going down through the city and stuff, like that whole scenescape in there I thought was awesome.
It's so cool. It's very cool. I love it. It's neat to see, and I like seeing that world building, and it makes me super happy. I love seeing that kind of stuff. I speaking of that scene in particular, I saw a funny like meme, and it was like, Jango Fett gets killed to, gets paid to kill Padme, right? But he hires the changeling woman, who in turn uses a droid, and the droid in turn uses like slugs. So he's like four people, like he's
four
like,
people removed from the actual task at hand.
Which I think I saw that in real world, where there was like a hitman. Somebody hired a hitman, and the hitman hired somebody for less, and then that person hired somebody for less, and the other then the next person got caught by the cops because they just went too low.
That's the thing. If you go too far, then you like with the cheaper you get, obviously the less skilled they get too. So yeah, you're gonna eventually end up with a slug.
Yeah. So what?
You can't get the job done.
What? So Jango Fett, come on, Bella, come on, buddy. You could have just done that yourself.
Yeah, probably pretty easy.
Probably so, because then he shoots that woman with like the Camino poison dart,
right,
from like a mile away. He
could have just done that to Padme.
Yeah, because Obi-Wan and them don't see it, right? Yeah. They don't see it happen.
They didn't see it happen to her, so why would they have seen it happen to?
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Looks like I'm throwing some holes into your thing.
Whenever
George
they introduce the Star Wars multiverse, then we'll get that outcome.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's
the same multiverse where Jar Jar is a Sith Lord.
Oh my goodness. And I think that is I love that theory. Wouldn't it be funny? Like, because you don't have to be like, everybody thinks evil is evil is evil, but you could, if you were really trying to be evil, like, whoop, okie day, like, and you just be inept. And be like, whoops, sorry, Annie, I about threw you off the cliff. Or
right.
Sorry, like,
I accidentally launched this bomb at all my troops.
Oh, no. Whoopsie daisies. Yeah. Oopsie poopsies.
Just attribute it to being stupid. In reality, it's all part of the plan.
It's all part of the plan. Dude, that is so funny. I love that so much.
Mm-hmm. But so, yeah, essentially the state of Star Wars. So that's kind of the, all the TV movie sort of, I guess, kind of state of it. In the same sort of vein, obviously the games have been a little more sparse and, few and far between here lately. They've had a handful of them. Those, the Star Wars Jedi Survivors coming out soon. And then the last one, what was that? I forget what the first one was called with Kyle Kestis.
I did too, but
yeah,
those games are good.
Like those were obviously the better haven't been many Star Wars games come out at all, other than like the Lego ones. I don't really count those, but
yeah, and Battlefront, the new Battlefronts have had some decent support for it, and they've not been so bad. I've played some of that. They tried doing like a whole.
I think I got stuck
platform with that.
Yeah, I think I just got too stuck in the internal comparison, trying to compare it to the old ones,
which you can't do.
And to me, it was just a Battlefield game with a Star Wars skin on it.
It kind of
was. I mean, it may be cool in a sense, but I couldn't overwrite the comparison aspect of myself.
Especially like as kids, when you're just like, wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if we did that? Wouldn't it be cool if we could fly from the ship to the planet and go up and
awesome.
down? And oh my goodness, that's the other thing is we live so much in like what if world.
Very active imagination stuff.
Very active imagination for that kind of thing. So yeah, I love Star Wars. You love Star Wars.
Yes.
What are some things that you want to see? Like what? I know you mentioned the Old Republic. Is that something that you'd want to see?
The Old Republic stuff from I just want to see things again completely disconnected from this storyline that's been drug out for 30, 40 years at this point. End it, move on. I mean, it's a good storyline and it's fine and the characters are cool, but I think those last three movies the last trilogy were kind of a signal that kind of ran its course.
Yeah, I think a fandom that's done that kind of well would be. I know Josh is not a Game of Thrones fan, but the Game of Thrones series, it was all about the Starks, right, and the Targaryens, and with the new series, the House of the Dragon. It is obviously focusing on the Targaryens and the lead up to like that civil war or whatever. But it shows the Starks, like you see them like once and they talk about them a couple of times, but at no point do they really try to shoehorn them in and really like,
oh, that's nice.
And like, hey, look at the Starks, like you see a Stark guy and he talks and he's like, I pledge my allegiance to you or whatever. And that's kind of it for him. And then, like in passing, they'll be like, yeah, Starks are, we're going to send you off to try to get their alliance because they're right. I know if they say they'll pledge themselves, they will, but they're not like a POV character that they just keep bringing up just because they have such a fan like following, which I think is nice.
Huh. Interesting.
Well, if there was going to be an Old Republic show or movie, what would you like to see it from? Would you like to see like a Sith thing or like a Jedi or what?
I mean, well, speaking of that, it would be kind of interesting to kind of see, I mean, for example, on a game aspect, the Force Unleashed games, those followed Darth Vader's apprentice, Starkiller.
Yes.
And I think, that as a medium that followed, again, that pure dark side sort of storyline. I'm not super familiar with the storyline. I never actually played those games, but seeing some kind of TV or movie adaptation that followed that, some old, apprentice rising up through the Sith Lord, whatever,
and struggling with between the light and the dark. We've seen a lot of struggle. We saw it in the sequel movies with like Kylo Ren. There was some like struggle, but he was definitely going to be. It was obvious what was going to happen.
Right.
You knew from the very beginning, like, I don't know if I can do this, and then he does it, and you're like, oh, you're going to be a bad guy. But you could just tell that he was it. And it wasn't that well done.
No, and I think that's the thing is I that may be where my brain's coming up with this. I think I like to see that kind of similar storyline, but someone who more quickly embraces it and like, I guess, goes more hardcore with it.
I think that would be cool. You were talking about Starkiller. Wasn't that the name of the base that they were? Wasn't
Starkiller Base?
Was Starkiller Base?
Yes.
Oh, very clever, Disney.
Well. That was supposed to be Luke's last name to begin with.
That is true.
It was Luke Starkiller, and then Lucas, he changed it to Skywalker because because it didn't sound as bad or whatever.
Yeah, some of those, especially some of those early like art, like the concept art for Star Wars, like when like all of the stormtroopers were gonna have like lightsabers and stuff. It's just gonna be like. It's gonna be like Dune, just people fighting with lightsabers and stuff instead of blasters. It's kind of neat.
I'm also would like to just see, like, I've loved the kind of bounty hunter storylines that the Mandalorian has brought into it and stuff. I like to just maybe follow another group of bounty hunters on some other mission from a different time. Back in the old times of Mandalore. Back in those Knights of the Old Republic games, there's a handful of storylines involving Mandalorians, and they were always really cool in that game too. And they were, again, more tribal back then.
Oh, very tribal.
So I like that aspect of them, but I don't know, I guess I just want to see something from a different time.
Well, speaking of bounty hunter, I remember in the Old Republic, in like one of the Old Republic cutscenes. I've never played the game. The game doesn't look that fun to me to play. It's like a turn-based, like,
Well, and again, to differentiate, there is Knights of the Old Republic.
There is Knights of the Old Republic.
And then there's the Old Republic, which is the MMORPG, the online game that is still currently going.
Yes, and that doesn't look like, I'm not really good with those type of games. I wouldn't enjoy that as much. I think, it's more of the World of Warcraft type of thing.
Right.
And there's nothing against that. I mean, they're interesting things, but the cutscenes for that are really, really well done.
Oh, yeah.
And they're almost like these little movies, and like the lightsaber fights that you get in those were like amazing. And I think in that first one, the first cutscene, there's like they have like a bounty hunter, and he's got that whole cowboy-esque thing going on. Right. And he has to he was being arrested, but turns out he kind of has to, like, something happens and he has to like help them out. And you see him like slow motion, shooting his blast. He's got a blaster in each hand and taking out these Sith troopers. And I like that a lot.
Right. That was another thing. You had recently showed me, what was that Star Wars thing that was the black and white?
Oh, the Star Wars Visions.
Star Wars Visions. Yeah, that kind of, I'd like to see some similar things with that, if it were to involve Jedi, again, from a different time period, these kind of smaller, more contained stories of, a Jedi that's off on one of their missions from the Council in some faraway galaxy. And, they're primarily, trying to keep their cover, and do some intel gathering, some kind of investigative work, maybe some kind of investigator storyline, kind of a Sherlock Holmes aspect, but from a Jedi's perspective. But, every now and then he kind of encounters, some bad thugs or something and has to, pull out the lightsaber from time to time. But
yeah, I think that would be really cool. I think there was
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is like the Daredevil Netflix series.
Okay, yeah, I never really watched that, but
it was really good. But something kind of that sort of thing where you have like this, two storyline sort of deal, the outside of the superhero and inside the superhero thing, but that dichotomy of a Jedi, of being kind of the undercover diplomatic, representative, but then also, a Jedi Knight as well.
Yeah. Well, they do that some. There's another cartoon series that came out. It's like Tales of the Jedi. That's very recent. I don't think you've seen either. Mm-hmm. And they do that a little bit because we get to see, there's some stuff with Yaddle, right? The other Yoda species Jedi. There is some stuff with like Qui-Gon where he's the apprentice to Count Dooku.
That's what I want to see. I just want to see more Qui-Gon stuff.
Yeah, you should watch that. Then it's actually really, really good. It's like,
but I guess Liam Neeson's not getting any younger.
No, and it'd be hard to do. But they
de-age him like all the rest of the actors.
Just make it. Let's just do like one of those like pseudo animated things. Like what was it? Wasn't like a Final Fantasy or something like that? Wasn't there a movie like that that was just all realistic looking people? But it was still all animation.
Could have been. I don't know.
But if it was, tell us and tell me how dumb I am.
Yeah.
But the Tales of the Jedi is really neat because you kind of see where Count Dooku is. You see where Count Dooku is like he's struggling with stuff, right? And he just wants to get things done. And then when stuff happens to Qui-Gon, you kind of see that push him over the edge. I saw somebody make a supercut of like that Star Wars Vision cartoon and then into when like Count Dooku has Obi-Wan and like the Rey shield on Geonosis, and he's talking to him and he's like, I wish Qui-Gon was here right now. I could really use his, help. And Obi-Wan's like, he would have never joined you. And it's like this super cut from the Star Wars, from the Jedi Visions or, Tales of the Jedi cartoons. And it was like a really well done thing. I like it when fans kind of like, weave those things together.
Right.
And do those things. For me, just like you said, the Jedi itself is such an interesting order. And one of the things I loved about the prequels was there were so many of them. I liked seeing that.
Yeah.
And I remember being obsessed with the first one, just like who's the pilot of that red ship that landed on who gets, shields up and gets killed immediately, like the first person to die in a Star Wars show, right? Mm-hmm. Him and the other guy. I was obsessed with like, how did that, they were like Republic Security Forces or something like that. I was obsessed with them when I was a kid.
Like to see some misadventures of Plo Koon.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I know you'd love that.
My boy Plo Koon. Pour one out for him, y'all.
Yeah. Did we ever actually see him die?
We see that
there was like an explosion or something, wasn't there, in a ship?
It's just like but it would be bad if he lived through it. Because
one can only hope.
I mean, he was pretty cool. He was old too.
Yeah.
Like he was super old. Which is weird because apparently his species doesn't live that long. We're getting a little too nerdy now, maybe.
Anyway.
But we can go into like a whole thing. But I would love to see Old Republic. I want to see a Sith or Jedi struggling with their humanity, with their with the light and the dark. But I want it to be like more. I want it to pull on me more. I want it to like rip my heart out.
Right.
That's what I'm after. And I think there are some storylines that have done that, where there's like people have gone from like good to bad, and then kind of eventually to good.
Right.
In the Old Republic series. But those things where especially with like the Sith coming back, or like Korriban, Sith troopers, entire like,
right.
Bad guys. But when bad guys are more, when bad guys have a personality to them and they have a humanity and they have a reason for doing what they do,
right?
It's hard to like hate them, and it's also makes it
when you see the stormtrooper go home at the evening to his family.
yeah.
Take the helmet off and sit on the dinner table.
Andor has a little, like kind of a little bit of that.
Oh.
That's what in Andor there's a lot of like, one of the POV characters is a internal like Imperial Security Bureau officer, and seeing her, and she is a phenomenal actress, but seeing her and like her struggle and like dealing with like even just the workplace issues, like there's like this internal struggle with just like another dude at work who keeps trying to steal her credit, and you're like, come on, man, but really she's a bad person, you know?
Right.
We would be okay if like they all died, if it was like a Jedi killing them.
Right. But you wouldn't think of anything twice about it.
But when it's her POV point, like when it's her point of view, and she's struggling to get her reports in, or like she's trying to figure out, you know, who's stealing this Imperial equipment, and this guy's like, there's not a big thing, and she's kind of getting like gaslit by him. You know, I'm like, well, hey, leave her alone. You know, she's cool,
right?
But she's not. She's a bad person, at least right now.
May have ordered the death of many innocent civilians.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would love to see somebody. Like, I would love to see somebody go to Korriban. I think that would be interesting because we have all of this Force, like all of this Jedi lore. We've really not. There's like Sith holocrons and stuff like that, but we've really not delved into like we've not seen something like a POV, like long-term thing. Like, this is what the Sith believe, right? You know, where it's like, hey, maybe this is why they believe what they believe.
Right, yeah, it has some more media that dives into the Sith as a species type of thing, and not just this thing that they talk about, or this like basically a religion that these new people follow, but when it was more of a thing. Yeah, that too, because that is definitely a thing. Like, you know, for those who don't know, the Sith they are originally like, you know, dark Force attuned species from the planet of Korriban, and that's where the term like Sith comes from. And then people who turned to the dark side became part of the Sith order. But there were other light side orders too, other than the Jedi. There were other dark side orders other than the Sith, like the witches of Dathomir, you know, who like in the Clone Wars and Rebels and all that like Darth Maul, like I think his mom is one of the witches of Dathomir, you know, like that's how he got involved in the dark side. Interesting. And, you know, you know, obviously he's in the Han Solo movie, so it's obvious, like, you know, he's still alive canon, and he's still alive canon in Clone Wars. That's how they kind of like have, you know, he got betrayed by Darth Sidious. You know, he's kind of doing his own thing. He's out there, you know, just trying to live his best life with like robot legs, as you do. You know, you do. It's a tough life, but you gotta make do one way or another. Yeah. But I mean, when you get the Duel of the Fates as your theme song, I mean, there's hardly a better one out there. Man, it's so good, isn't it? That while we're talking on the topic, yeah, I will give a shout out to, of all the, you know, gripes that some people do have about stuff, the music throughout all of the different mediums, like it has had some of the best music. When John Williams hits you with the Duel of the Fates, right? Mm-hmm. This is, you know, being a child, right? We see Darth Maul. He's already fought Qui-Gon Jinn with one lightsaber, like with the one lightsaber blade extended, right? And you're like, oh, that's just a dude with a red lightsaber. And then the doors open. My dude's just standing there. My dude Darth Maul. He's just standing there, head down. He takes the hair, you know, he takes the head back, his hood back, and we see the horns. We see all his tattoos and like all, you know, his skin color. Then he holds out the lightsaber, and not one, but two blades come out. Which, on that note, I hate a little tangent. I will say that it's widely known that is one of the worst spoilers that ever happened in media. Yeah. Is they showed that in the trailer. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's going to get people's attention, but come on. Like, again, you know, for people who, like, as, you know, children or something hadn't seen that, or even like fans, that was a mind-boggling thing. You've got a double-bladed lightsaber. Yes. Yeah. It was. But so in that moment, yeah, the second one comes out, and you're like, oh, and then we have the quad, like the chorus in the background, and John Williams building that up. And the prequels had amazing lightsaber battles, lightsaber fights, and nobody can argue that. And it's just the best. It was so good. You know, like for me, that was one of the big things in my childhood. My brother picked me up, you know, he picked me up from an event I didn't want to be at with my dad, like a work event. He picked me up and drove me to Wichita, Kansas, to a movie theater that was showing it. And I got to watch it. And everybody, the other kids had already seen it. You know, I didn't get to see a lot of movies as a kid because we were too poor. Yeah. And it's one of those like theater memories I'll never forget. Like, I got a popcorn and soda. That was a big deal to me at the time because we didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't get to go to a lot of things. And my brother was like 8 years old. Is 8 years older than me, so it was one of those things where seeing that
seeing that movie in theaters, it did something for me, and it set me on a course probably to why we're doing this now, is because it instilled wonder in me.
Same.
And you know what, if the sequels or the Mandalorian or any of those things are instilling wonder in you, then I think, you know, good on them. I hope it is. I hope that the David Filoni or the John Favreau's or whoever is doing directing whatever, I hope that they think about that when they make them. And I hope that if you like them and it's instilling, like, you know, it's bringing some creativity to your mind or helps you relax, that you enjoy it as well. I talked about my gripes, you know, but all in all, I still love it.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad it's here.
I think, and we're only able to gripe about it because we care about it that, you know, that much.
Yes.
You know, anything that you care deeply, deeply about, you're going to have opinions about it. But again, it's because you care so deeply about it.
It's like a, you know, like a football fan, you know, like the football fans, they, you know, or somebody like that, who has their team and they're like, I can't believe they picked up this player. I can't believe the coach did that. But they still have a million jerseys and they still wear the cheese head on their, you know, like they still wear like the Green Bay Packers thing or wear the Eagles wings or whatever, you know, like they're so into it.
Right.
And I think we're the same way. Like we have like,
I still have a lightsaber sitting on my shelf in there.
Exactly. A nice one too.
Yeah.
And we have all of this, and
you're literally wearing a Star Wars shirt right now. I just noticed.
Yeah, it is. It has tropical theme. It's like it's a beach themed
stormtrooper helmet.
Stormtrooper helmet.
That's awesome.
Like with like a beach theme on the back. That's right. And honest, I swear to God, I'm gonna be 100% honest.
Did you not know you wore that?
I knew I was, but I didn't wear that because we were recording this. I just wore it. I grabbed it today before I went to jiu-jitsu, and I've been wearing it. You know, that's what I've been wearing. So that's funny. Okay.
Speaking of Duel of the Fates.
Hey. So, we could talk about, I think there's some things we want to talk about like in depth later. Like I think we'll talk about certain games. And I think we could even movie breakdowns, especially after you've seen a couple of the series that you've not been able to, you know, just because of life. But check out The Mandalorian today. Tell us what you think about it. We'll have like an Instagram thing up for it, and we want to hear what you think about it. We'll have it up tomorrow probably. Tell us what you think about it, and tell us what you want to see. What do you want to see for Star Wars in the future?
Right. Are there any particular type of games? Maybe some remasters of old games that you might would like to see, or you know, potentially new ideas for movies or TV shows.
Or is there anything that you want your hopefully your favorite podcasters to play and post something of?
Also that too,
because we are open for suggestions. Real quick though, but you know, we're winding down here. I have something I want to know, and I legitimately don't know the answer to this, even though we've been best friends for a long time. What would be your choice? Like, what kind of lightsaber would you choose? Would you choose would you choose one lightsaber? Would you choose two lightsabers? Would you choose a double-bladed lightsaber? What color? And like, which of those options would you have? Would you rather have one in each hand? You know, like one two-handed one, or one or one double-bladed one?
Oh, of all the questions to just randomly drop on me without any prior warning.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We really don't script our shows, so it's really just us rambling.
The color would be green.
Okay, green's a good color.
The color of the Jedi Counselor. Okay. I've always liked. Again, I like the mannerism and the kind of aura that Qui-Gon portrayed. You know, the very wise, but still calm, but could still get work done, you know, if needed to. That was always kind of one of my favorite type of Jedi thematics versus like the Sentinel of the Night kind of thing. So it would probably be green. As far as what type though, that's the thing. I've seen some like pictures of some crazy lightsabers that are like whip lightsabers. Sure,
I'm not even going there. I'm saying, would you, you know, the three most common ones we see is, you know, you're holding it like a samurai sword. You've got one in each hand, like Ahsoka or whatever. Right. Or are you going to go Darth Maul
or double? Yeah, it would. In that case, it'd probably be just the single, the duelist.
Okay.
Yeah, I like the significance of the beam, the one beam just coming out. I also don't know that I'm coordinated enough to do two, and I would probably chop my legs off with a double bladed.
Well, in this
scenario, I'm a well-trained Jedi.
You're a well-trained Jedi, and hopefully not. Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if anything, too, the single hilt is a little easier to conceal.
Ooh, that's true. That is true.
I would just go with one short lightsaber. Yoda
like a
had.
Tonto one.
Yeah, like
yeah.
a Yoda-sized lightsaber. Yeah.
Like so you're going with dagger, like a little Yoda dagger, like a little Yoda lightsaber dagger. His was green too. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking, Josh. I think I would like to go with a, you've made some lightsabers in video games.
Yeah.
Probably. Can I have a double-bladed lightsaber with two different color blades? Can I have a kyber crystal that controls each
so
blade?
there's, for instance, we saw on Darth Maul's that when it was chopped in half, one half could still operate independently.
Ooh, that's true.
So that signifies that there are two, and you could even ignite them differently. So there are two independent lightsabers connected at the hilts, indicating there are two kyber crystals in them, and thus you could have two different colors in there. I think there even was a game at some point that you could change the colors on both sides. Yes, you could have two different colors on there.
So in my top 10 video games, I talked about Plo Koon and Jedi Power Battles, and he had orange lightsaber. And I'm really sad that they made his blue in the TV series.
Yeah,
because like Mace Windu had purple, which is dope.
right.
But why not a orange?
Like red, blue, green, and yellow are kind of the staples, and then you have the purple Mace Windu. But then I guess there's the dark saber. But outside of that, it's about it that you ever see in anything. But every now and then you will see like the orange show up in something, which is awesome. That's
what I think I would be. I would think I would have a double bladed, because I want to be able to do that with my hat. I want to have my hood up and be like, toss it back behind me and be like, and then like one lightsaber blade extends. Yes, keep going, Josh. And then the other one comes out, and I'm holding it out in front of me, and I begin to spin it, and then like I throw it behind my back, and I do like the little, almost like, ninja, like come here, like, like a little hand motion.
Right, the Neo move.
The Neo, like, just
waving the fingers.
The fingers, waving them on.
Yeah.
And yeah, that would be me.
I can see it.
I like that a lot.
That would be pretty hardcore.
I know we just did a whole thing about two different colors, and I went with just straight up orange. But
you were just curious?
I was just curious. I was like, well, do I want a green and blue one? No, you know what?
If it's not even possible, then you might not even think about it.
So yeah, for me, I would go straight up orange. I would go with the Plo Koon, just because, when I put myself into Jedi stuff, when you played KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, you get to choose your lightsaber blade, I'm assuming. You
could change the colors and customize them and everything, yeah.
Exactly. So I think for me, I would go with what I grew up with, which is Jedi Power Battles, Plo Koon, triangle, throw them through a, swipe down and then swipe up.
There you go. Alrighty. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for this week's episode. Go watch The Mandalorian. Tell us what you think about it. And follow us on all of our social media pages.
At Geek ETC Podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and our YouTube page. And don't forget to go to our Patreon.
Yes.
Geek ETC Podcast. And
yeah, that's patreon.com/Geek ETC Podcast.
And you know what? Why don't you guys become part of the crew?
Yes. Join our crew. Help us fight off the Sith.
Because geeks fight better together.
They do. All right. Keep geeking out.